So good morning, afternoon, evening to everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's Service Management Community Webcast. Today we've got a great presentation and demo by the Product Management and Product Marketing team talking about the new xFlow user experience. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alan.
And thank you, Chris. Hi, my name is Alan Haupt with the CA Product Marketing Organization for CA Service Management. I'll be hosting the presentation portion of this call, and Avnish Bhatnagar will be doing a demonstration, and Rajiv Kumar will be joining us for the Q&A. They are both from our product management team. Before we get going, I just want to mention that you can enter questions using the Q&A tab during the session, and we'll try to either answer them online or we'll get to them at the end. And we'll also have a Q&A, open Q&A at the end to answer your questions then. Also, if you do want to ask a question during the Q&A, we do have you on mute, and you'll need to hit #6 on your telephone to open up the line during that Q&A at the end of the session here. So let's get started. Today we have an exciting session, I think. We're covering our newest release, which is going to focus on what we're calling the xFlow user experience. And we'll be going through several different aspects here. I want to talk about the release in general, some of the logistics of it. I then want to give some background and context as to how we got to where we are today with this release, and some of the input that we gathered from many of you, actually, and others to get to this point, the capabilities and value of the new features and capabilities, and then providing an actual demonstration. And that's where you're going to get most of the wow factor and see what's really coming your way here. We'll talk a little bit about how we're promoting this, what you have access to that you can use to share information around your organization about this, and then an open Q&A, as I said. So in terms of the release overview, this is technically release 14.1.03 of CA Service Management. It is a value pack. We launched this at a Gartner conference about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago on June 7th as part of our CA Agile Management launch. The release will be generally available to you on the 20th, so coming up very quickly here, and it'll be available in the languages specified here on the screen. The scope is that this covers a new IT analyst or service desk analyst user experience. So the UI for the service desk analyst has been vastly improved, and we'll get into details. In terms of delivery, how you get access to this, it's a cumulative patch for CA Service Desk Manager 14.1, available on the CA support site as a downloadable cumulative. So some of those details, you can ask some questions later on if you want to get some more specifics on that. Jumping to the background and context, first thing I want to talk about is, we've taken a look at ITSM maturity, and if you look at what multiple industry analysts have come up with in terms of rating ITSM maturity, it really has not changed much over the last at least 5-6 years here. And maturity is really measured as process sophistication, the quality of service being delivered. And when we look at the numbers here, we see that we're at about a 2.35, and that's out of 5, actually. So we're at a very low level of maturity, and it's not changing that much at all. And if you consider that there's been so many technological advances, there's been process improvements in terms of ITIL and DevOps and Lean and all these things that have been applied in this space, it's rather, discomforting that there has not been much improvement in the maturity of ITSM shops. On top of this is the cost of the service desk ticket has not changed that much either over a similar time period. You'll see some have gone down maybe a little bit, others are level, others have actually gone up in terms of the types of tickets. And really it comes down to the effectiveness of the tools is just not there, and it really should be after all these years. So we have to really sort of think of, what's going on here. So CA went into about a 6-month period where we engaged in ethnographic research with our customer base, with our competitors' customers, our partners, experts in this area, mostly people using ITSM products, though, over 100 professionals, and we really took a look at them in their work environments and how they did their work, and let them tell their stories, tell us their pains as they were actually doing their jobs. How do you feel? Not just what are you doing, but how do you feel? Things like that. So true ethnographic research, and that provided a lot of insight into their goals, their organizational goals, as well as the environment and the issues that were impacting their work. We found that they were eager to improve. We did another separate survey, almost 300 ITSM individuals, and we saw that almost 100% of them wanted to improve their ITSM maturity, but it wasn't happening. So what we got out of this was a deeper understanding of how the various service management personas, the people that do the work, how they interact, how they work in a service management organization. We understood their issues, their goals, how they communicate, what their days and their work environment were like, and how they interacted. This was very important, how they interacted with various systems, various teams, and the individuals who they were providing service to. So this was very detailed work that we did in research. And here's what we found. There were three major things. First, that is for business users, IT is the last resort. Employees go to Google, they go to their social networks long before they go to IT, to the service desk for help. And they view IT as an obstacle to progress and an impediment to achieving their daily tasks and goals. So not a very warm and fuzzy response in that respect. We found that every problem has a story, but no one can hear it. So every organization has team collaboration and knowledge sharing, but we found that it's very messy and inconsistent and not tracked. It's difficult for these teams to see the bigger picture, and they really need a mechanism for sharing the tribal knowledge. And when you look at it, information is coming at them from many different sources, many different places within the organization. There's these islands of data or islands of information in SharePoint, there's IMs, there's face-to-face interactions, but the details don't get captured and pulled back into the ITSM system. If you take this and you compound that with when we escalate tickets or tickets need to be managed by some other team or group person, we run into a situation where many of the tickets actually were falling through the cracks and they were getting lost. And this is because the different teams have different systems that they work with on these tickets. So it was very hard to see the full story of the ticket and have this continuity of resolution. The next thing we found was that analysts are in the service business, but their tools are not. They truly do believe that they are customer service representatives, the service desk analysts, but they're not able to provide the kind of quality that they want to and that the employees expect. And really, the tools that are around today, they lack the proper design for them to perform this great service. They perform clunky workarounds. They have to visit many different queues to do a single task. They lack the information, as I mentioned already, because it's scattered across systems and people, and it doesn't get brought back to one place or at least captured. They have to work from these independent queues in multiple systems, and they don't always. It's very difficult for them to prioritize their work and provide and get the context of the situation at hand. To make matters worse, the tools and processes that they're using are focused on very narrow service level metrics that typically are focused on the speed of resolution of a ticket rather than the quality of service. You need to have both of those, really, and that was something that we found across them. So these were the three findings, and this leads us in a situation where we've got a technology where we had ticketing systems in the past that were really via forms, 20, 30 years ago. We've digitized them, and that's pretty much where we stand today. We really didn't dig into, and I'm talking about every vendor out there. If you look at the UIs from every vendor in ITSM, it's pretty consistent how these things look. They are just glorified ticketing systems. So how do we fix this? How do we get out of this service desk of the 80s and into the modern world where employees are demanding different than what they have today. And this is where the new CA service management comes into the picture here. What we've done is we've designed this for humans and built it for service. We are basically turning the tables around and changing the way service management works so that it's working the way that today's employees, today's organizations, the modern employees, the modern organizations want to work and need to work. You know, it's no longer about the ticket or the SLA, it's about the person and the service that they're providing and the service that the individuals are getting. It's based on and rooted in deep research on how ITSM people work, and we think we've come to market here with a very high-value solution that better meets the needs of the modern enterprise. So let's talk about it a little bit and then actually show it to you. So first of all, I'll introduce this. It is the xFlow user experience. This is just a new feature or capability of CA Service Management. This is not something additional that you need to buy beyond CA Service Management. And I'm going to talk about a couple of the features here, and then we'll get into more details in the demo. So in terms of providing a better context and prioritized understanding to the service desk analyst, there's several different features that we've added here. And basically, we're creating a new analyst experience to help them, make every moment count during their day so that they can deliver the kind of service that they want to, because they want to deliver, they think they're customer service reps, which they are, and it's the kind of service that the users are really expecting. xFlow gives them the ability to understand the complete state of the IT environment, gives them a way to prioritize the work, and the context to make the right decisions and take the right actions when resolving issues. So giving them that complete understanding is critical, and basically it comes down to a lot of data-driven intelligence that's been employed here. So there's a couple features here I'm going to talk about. You can see them listed on the left side of the screen there. We'll talk about each one of them here. The first is called Cardview, and this is we call it the Cardview work list and queue management capability. And basically this is a new view that provides context to the analyst about their day. It gives them the immediate ability to take action on their incidents, see a bigger picture of all the incidents they've got that they need to work on, and requests, I should say. And it provides them a more modern, personalized approach to customer service. It gives them an at-a-glance view of the upcoming shift in the IT environment and the state of their queue as well as the team's queues. So we'll learn a lot more about this in just a moment, but needless to say, on the left side are the different ways of categorizing the different tickets in their queues. They can set up their own filters on these, something like your music, your list of songs that you keep in your different playlists. It's very similar to that, and we'll see that demoed. Next I want to talk about is weather. And weather it's a feature that also helps put the analyst day into perspective or into context. It provides them with an understanding of the state of the service desk business, what major issues took place recently that could affect their workload, what might arise based on historical data, and basically how their shift looks from an overall perspective. It consolidates information about the analyst queue, the team's queue, the environment in aggregate, gives them a picture of, well, it's going to be cloudy, it's going to be stormy, or it's a sunny day coming up, but it talks about, these different aspects, and it gives them suggestions on what they should do during the day. So again, we'll see the details of this in just a moment. The next is what we call heat. And heat is basically provides a dimensional scoring model that helps to prioritize work more effectively. It provides the analyst with an understanding of the importance of each incident across multiple dimensions that we'll get a glimpse at in just a moment, and so that they get a better context of the support that they need to provide for each incident. It talks about such things as the priority, the impacted user, the age of the ticket, SLA violation information, and other variables that can be incorporated here to provide a heat reading for each incident. Okay, so that at a high level is some of the big features, and then to talk about how do we do a better job of actually resolving the issues. So those features I just talked about give them context, give them perspective on what they need to work on, and give them context for their day coming up. This one, Active Assistance, gives them the ability to take action. And some of the key features here are, first of all, it's basically this is an integrated troubleshooting capability. to make them be more responsive and effective. The first thing is a story timeline, which is a single timeline giving them a historical view, and it incorporates both the team and the analyst information and a sequential at-a-glance view of all the activities performed on an incident, all the notes, field updates, chats, knowledge articles linked to it, and so forth. So providing everything in a single timeline, which enables them to, as the ticket gets passed back and forth between team members or other analysts, it allows them to pick up right where they left off without missing a beat. It allows the end users to also understand what's been happening with their ticket. The Service Genius is an integrated troubleshooting mechanism that sort of guides the analyst through their investigation of the issue or the request. There's such things as suggested solutions, which talks about recommended solutions based on knowledge, similar incidents, as well as information from external sources that can be used to resolve the issue. Again, the way we can do this is that we have much better context of the incidents, as I talked about in the prior slides. The next is suggested experts, which automatically understands, again, the context of the incident and accordingly suggests service desk and IT members that may be best rated to assist and collaborate on this incident at hand. And then the last thing I'll mention is an assistive command box that recognizes keywords as you're building a new ticket that helps to drive actions and solutions for the service desk analyst that get, it basically will get the context to get answers to questions. It's sort of like an IDE for a developer that a developer would have, but it's really, for a service desk analyst in this case. So these are just a high-level glimpse into the features. Now let's drill down and actually see these in action and get into a lot more detail. So I'm going to turn this over to Avnish, and Avnish, you can proceed with the demo.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
Thanks for setting up the stage nicely. We'll dive into the demo right away and then see how the analyst, L1 analyst, is going to work with this new interface. So for the purpose of the demo today, we would walk through a day in the life of Dustin, which is a persona that represents the level 1 analyst in an organization today. So we are going to see all the concepts that Alan was talking about in action right now in the software. So as Dustin comes into work and is about to begin the day, typically, before stepping out of the house, we would check how the weather is going to be today. Do I need to carry an umbrella with me, or is it going to be hot, or is it going to be stormy, or how's it going to pan out? So similarly, we thought when Dustin is going to start his day, he wants to know what his day would look like today. Is it going to be a rush of a lot of tickets coming his way? Is it going to be a little bit relaxed where Dustin can focus on some of the tickets which always meant to work upon but never could get to? So with that in mind, we have something called weather up here. Now, weather is based upon the 3 parameters, and these 3 parameters are how many tickets are there in Dustin's queue. So as we can see, there are 2 high heat tickets, and they're contributing to about 20% of the weight. There's an application support, application support is Dustin's team. So Dustin's team has about 2 and 3 hours tickets, and which contribute to 10% of the weightage, and there are no environmental changes which are planned, so which can impact the environment. So it's looking like it's going to be quite a nice sunny day, and then there are only 3 tickets, and if Dustin starts working on these 3 tickets, which are the 3 high heat tickets, this should see him in a good stead, because with that the major load of the work would be done. But what after that? So these are not all the tickets that Dustin would have. So we also have something which is called the work streams, which are right here. So once these tickets have been worked upon, then Dustin can go into his queue and see what all other tickets are up for Dustin to work upon. Now, what you see here, all these tickets in Dustin's queue are laid out in the card view. This card view is the new view that we have implemented as part of xFlow. And the idea behind having this card is to provide the context on the ticket. So as you can see here, there is something called heat right up here. Now, what does this mean, high heat? Let's get in there and see what this is. So as you can see, the heat has certain ranges up here, low, medium, and high. And just to mention that as with weather, the heat ranges are also configurable by admin. So admin can choose to say what constitutes low for their business, what is medium, what is high. So essentially what heat is a composite of different parameters that go about prioritizing the work for Dustin. In our research, what we've seen is that priority is not good enough. There are other factors which are important when the analyst is trying to figure out which tickets to work first. So heat is a composite of all those factors which can be configured by the administrator. So in this case, the administrator has decided that age is one of the factors. So if age is greater than 30 days, then it contributes a weight of 3. If it's a major incident, then it definitely contributes the weight of 30. And if the priority is 1, it again contributes a weight of 10. And so if the SLA is already violated, that adds 7. Now again, all these values are configurable depending upon the business and the priorities of the business and the processes. So with all these parameters, this is the complex number which has been generated, and based on this number, the list of all the tickets in Dustin's queue is sorted. So you can see by default this is sorted by heat, but Dustin can go ahead and sort by anything else if he so desires, and can also reverse the order by saying whether he wants to see it in ascending or descending order, along with filtering based on some of the attributes which are available. So it does not want some of the tickets to appear here, can go ahead and filter those tickets out. So let's say this is a good list of tickets that Dustin wants to work upon. Now, all the tickets cannot be resolved at the same time, but there are other actions which can be taken, and it always helps to see who is the affected end user. So along with the ticket summary and a little bit more information about the ticket right here, when was it opened, what is the team, who's the owner, and when was last modified, things like that. There is also the indication of who is the affected end user, and it also indicates if the affected end user is a VIP user or not. So let's say Dustin looks at this ticket and says that, does not have a resolution for this ticket, but wants to put a comment for this ticket right here. So can I add a comment right there into the ticket? Rather than adding a comment, if Dustin feels like he should just notify directly to the business user who's reported this ticket, can do that as well, and can also add others if he so desires while he's communicating with the business user. Can follow the tickets in case these tickets are not in Dustin's queue and they are assigned to somebody else, and Dustin wants to follow the ticket because he thinks he can contribute, or he just there are other tickets which are dependent on this ticket in his queue. He can choose to follow them. And of course, there are some other quick actions which can be performed right from here, which is, for example, changing the status, changing the priority, or transferring the ticket to somebody else. Now, what it helps Dustin is in taking these actions quickly from the Cardview itself without the need of drilling into the details of the ticket. Now, apart from that, Dustin can also create a new stream. Now, this is what Ellen was referring to as something very similar to while you're creating your playlist for your songs or music or what have you, and then in a very simple fashion, Dustin can create a new stream which can be used later on. At the same time, there was also a need which was identified for the L1 analysts to communicate within their groups. For example, if a shift is ending and a new shift is starting and Dustin wants to send out a message, to the group saying that there's some handoff is going to happen. So we've introduced something called team messages. Today, what is happening is that this communication is happening outside of the tool, either via email or something else. So with messaging services down, we could say that messaging service will be available in next 2 hours. Please hold all communication, and then just say post right here. So this goes to all the team, and this can be this is like stays within the tool, so everybody can see who targeted for this particular communication. Along with that, there is the notifications of the system are now available quickly for Dustin to go ahead and view the notifications, and there's going to be an alert saying that there are some new notifications in the system. Now, we have introduced the card layout or the card view, but we also have kept the list view along with that. So if the analysts so desire, they can go back to the list view, and the list view again has all the elements that we saw on the card view. All the quick actions are available here, but it's just a different layout. If they are more comfortable using the list layout, they can switch back to the list view and do that. So let's move into the ticket creation aspect, and that's where the paradigm shift is very evident. So from the traditional approach of a form being thrown at the analyst, Dustin would just go in and would see a huge complex form and would start filling in the form, which would become a big task for Dustin. Rather, the paradigm changes to the user-centric approach. So the business user calls in. Let's say Jackie Brown calls in regarding a problem. So what Dustin does is he goes about looking for Jackie Brown, and Dustin finds Jackie Brown as a user in the system. He can also see that Jackie has 2 open tickets against her name, so he can go back and ask Jackie, is it something about the tickets which she has already reported, or there's something new? And let's say she says, no, this is a different problem. This is something new. So with that, he jumps right in. And while he has Jackie on the phone, he can start documenting whatever Jackie is telling him. So let's say he starts documenting by saying that user reports problem in syncing email. Now, the moment Dustin types a word which has a special meaning, and again, this is something which is configurable in the system, it gets highlighted and it shows that this is an actionable item. Let's see what actions are available. Okay, so I can classify this as email. So this is like you can choose a category right in here. And as I do that, the system prompts for additional information. So it says which client is being used here. So this is from mobile. Oops. It's mobile. And the information keeps going on. Is Outlook set to offline mode? The answer is no. Corporate network or internet, I would say internet. And then what is the OS? So the OS is iOS. And that's it. That information is provided. And then say enter and say what is the status. It's open. And with that, the ticket is created. Now, what has happened here is that while having Jackie on the phone, Dustin has been able to capture the information which was required, the basic bare minimum information which was required, which was sufficient for him to create a ticket. And along with that, if you look down here in the timeline, the history or the story of the ticket, as we were calling it earlier, is now along with the ticket. So all the steps that have been taken are visible here. Now, while Dustin is doing that, he also sees the solutions here. These are the suggested solutions. So based on the earlier tickets which have been created or the knowledge articles, there are some solutions which are provided here. So, for example, this is a solution, looks at it, no, this isn't good enough. There's some other solution. And if Dustin so chooses to use this particular solution, chooses to use it, and you see here right in the timeline it says solution use. This goes back to the business user, and business user can try and use this for the resolution of the ticket. Now, apart from that, what you also see here is a list of experts. So here are the experts who can help Dustin at this point of time in quickly resolving the ticket. So Dustin can choose to take help of these experts and say that, hey, can you help me resolving this ticket, and utilize their expertise. Now, if Dustin thinks that there might be others who would want to know what is going on in this area, then Dustin can add those as members to this ticket, so that they would get all the notification and be informed about what's going on here. So let's say he decides to add Bob Smith as a member for this particular ticket, and then Bob gets added as a member and would get all the notifications which would come out based on the activities which are going on for this particular ticket. So now let's say that Dustin wants to, has not found a solution, and he's still trying to figure out how to work this problem and wants to research a little bit, because when we were talking to our customers or the users, we found out that a lot of time the analysts do research over internet. So what we have introduced here is a research tool. Now what this research tool does is, as I clicked on the research tool icon, it takes the description of the ticket, the title of the ticket, and then uses it as a search terminology, and then makes it appear here as a search results. And this sits in the browser window. And when I go here, it asks me, what do I want to do? I want to attach this URL. I want to attach the selected text. Or let's say I say I want to attach the visible screenshot. I'm not going inside the links, but that's what the typically analysts would do, go inside these links and find the right one. But for the purpose of demonstrating the capability, I would just use this screen itself, and it says this has been successfully attached. I go back and I see document attached, and this is a screenshot from my previous window, which comes and sits inside the timeline. So the research part now comes into the tool. So Dustin doesn't have to go out, do the research, copy the image, and then attach it as a file or something like that. It becomes very simple, easy, and straightforward in this way. So that is pretty much all I had for today in terms of the new interface and the flow for the ticket creation and managing the tickets, which are the two main aspects of the new xFlow interface. That over to you, Alan.
Well, thank you, Avnish. I hope everybody enjoyed that and saw the changes that we are putting forth for the service desk analyst, and I think hopefully you're as excited about them as we are. I just want to talk a little bit about the let's see, let's move to the next slide here. I just want to wrap up, and I want to talk just a little bit about what we're, the high-level message of what we're bringing here. We're creating a new work experience so that analysts can really get back to the job of helping people. We're trying to make every moment count for them so that they have the ability to understand the complete state of the IT environment, what they're up against for that day, how they can better prioritize the work, and get context to make the right decisions and take the right actions. The other thing is that we want to be able to embrace the team, not the ticket. Elevate the system and human knowledge to support the business and the support team as a united team, not as individuals any longer. In terms of what we're doing to promote this, clearly we're on this webcast here today. We do have a customer announcement with the general availability coming out on the 20th. We're doing a whole bunch of social programs, and if you look at our ca.com website, you'll see it's been updated. All our pages, product pages have been updated to reflect these new capabilities. There's some really cool collateral out there as well. There's a nice foundation paper that talks about the research and much more detail on the findings of that research. We've got a data sheet on this new, the xFlow capability, and there'll actually be a really nice video demo out there in just a couple days. So lots of good stuff to help others in your organization understand this and for you to get a little bit more background on it. And then, of course, digital marketing events, webcasts. You'll be hearing this in webcasts as we move forward through the coming month here. So at this point, I know some folks have been entering some questions into the online, and we've been answering them pretty quickly. If you have any questions you want to bring to the group here, please press #6, and that will unmute your line, and we can take questions. Chris, anything else I need to do to execute on that? I think we're good.
Nope, that should be it. Just #6, and that will unmute you.
Keep in mind we got 2 product managers on the line here, so we can probably get answers to some pretty technical questions if need be. So please fire away. Okay, while we're waiting, there were a couple of questions that came in online. I'll bring them up so that everyone can hear the answers that were provided online. Question that we had was, can the metrics for the weather forecast be customized? And the answer is yes, the weather can be configured. An administrator can configure the values to tune the forecast for a particular in a particular way to encourage team activity or tunnel vision on an individual queue. How different is the, okay, did I hear a question?
Yeah, Alan, this is Avnish. I was just trying to respond to another question, and I was trying to club 2 or 3 questions together. I see there are 2 or 3 questions regarding the mobile app and the availability of this interface on mobile. So this interface is a browser-based interface, so this would not be available on the app. However, this would be usable on the tablets, so which have a screen sizes of 8 inches and above, and this is purely based upon the amount of capabilities which are available in this interface. It's more suited for the tablet interfaces. We will progress our mobile apps in a separate cadence, which the mobile app has and will continue to have.
Again, #6 to open up your line to ask a question.
I have a question. I was wondering, I noticed on one of the screenshots very quickly that there was an option to, it seemed to be able to call an individual or email an individual directly from that person. It's almost like their contact record. And I was wondering, what is that compatible with? Does that work with Cisco products, or what does that work with specifically?
So right now in the first cut, it's just the information only. So this is a display of the number, and if you have the plugins available, for example, you have the Skype plugin, and if you have any other VoIP plugin which works with your browser, you can directly place a call from that number using that plugin. But the tool does not provide any integration out of the box with any of the VoIP tools out there. And the email would, again, open your default email client for sending out the email messages if you so desire.
All right, so default email client, but it doesn't work with the phone call option. If you hit that, click the button, the phone button, it does not connect with Cisco products. Is that right? Like with Cisco Jabber, for example?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. I'll go from the end. There's a question regarding can we use the panel style view without weather and heat features? So yes, they are configurable. You can choose not to enable the weather and the heat capabilities if you so desire. Is the extension configurable to go to other data sources besides Google? So essentially what it is doing, the browser plugin that you saw out there, is it's opening another window with the search text as your title from your ticket, and by default it does a Google search, but you can do something else if you want to. So whatever you do on that page, and then you use the plugin on that particular page, it would still capture the screen, capture the URL, or capture the text as you might want it to, and then put it back into the ticket. It's just that by default, the first time it opens Google, but then you can do whatever you want once you're in that window.
Okay, I can probably go ahead with the next one. Could customers with lots of cells and customized fields leverage from this user experience? If the customization is an area of fields as in attributes and properties, like you saw in the demo that when Avanish selected email category, there were a bunch of troubleshooting questions that popped up below the command bar. Those were properties, and attributes would appear in the new UI in similar fashion. However, if the customization is done at the UI layer in existing SDM UI using HTML, JavaScript customization, and things like those, then that will be hard to incorporate in the new UI. So for the most part, yes, as long as the customization is limited to attributes and properties, they can be brought over to the new UI.
There's another question regarding how do we move between the classic UI and the new xFlow UI. So there are certain elements. For example, if you want to, there are certain commands in the command bar where you can use those commands to move between the interfaces. Like if you want to create a change order, you want to create a problem, and so on and so forth, you can move that. But the whole idea is that you should ideally not be working in two interfaces. Either you should be working in the classic interface, which we are not retiring at this point in time, or you should be using the new interface, which ideally you would like once you start using it. So, and if you feel strongly about the need to go to the older interface, please do let us know why that is the case. We would love to hear that. But from our side, the recommendation is that once you move on to the new interface, please do stick to that interface, though all that information would still be available in the classic UI.
Okay, the next question is from Eduardo. The question is, are the tickets created using xFlow interface available on USS interface for users and customers view, add comments, and so on? And the answer is yes. The system of record for tickets would remain the same. So if you have an integration between USS and SDM today, all the tickets created from xFlow interface would be available through SDM, and they would talk to USS. The synchronization activities between USS and SDM would work as they were working earlier. So the answer is yes.
To the question whether you can create requests and incidents, both, yes, you can create both incidents and requests in this interface.
Okay. There is a question from Michael around multi-language. Would it be as same way as it is for USS? Which languages in this first launch? As Alan was talking about on the opening slide, all the languages that are supported in SDM today, there are 9 languages that we support in SDM today. They will all be supported in the new xFlow interface.
And that's effective on the 20th of this month with the initial GA. There's no delay on that?
That's correct. Yep.
On the knowledge base search question, so the knowledge articles and the knowledge base is available from the user search. So when I was playing Dustin, I selected Jackie from a search bar. That search bar can be used to search users, tickets, or the knowledge documents as well.
Yeah, there's a question from Louis. And how about installation and architecture point of view? Are there any recommendations about resources? This release comes with an update, which is a patch for Core SCM, as well as a couple of additional components. One of them is xFlow Analyst interface, which is responsible for powering the new UI elements. And then there is a search server, which provides all search capabilities that you saw during the demo, including the suggestions through the Elasticsearch technology. So these two components need to be added to the deployment architecture, and they would require a little bit of extra resources depending on what environment type you are adding it to. If it is a demo, you can probably add everything on a single server, but if you are planning for production, you may want to provision additional servers into the environment. And all those details are documented. We are supporting the deployment architecture consideration through diagrams and details and our recommendations. So when it goes live, you will have all that information in the documentation.
There was a related question here about will this new interface be part of release 14.1 or will it involve additional costs? The answer is no additional costs if you're on the latest releases here with 14.1. This is just a feature of the release.
There's a question from Van. For incidents, we search the knowledge base first for known errors, then create incidents from the KEs. How could we do something similar? There is no, as you might have seen in the demo, there is no direct way of achieving that in the new interface, and we would keep an eye on this type of use case going forward. If it is something which is very popularly used by our customer base, we could consider that in future. But for now, what you could do is analysts can search for knowledge base, quickly look up the relevant articles from the new interface, and if they determine to go back and create a ticket, they can do so through the search window. But creation of a ticket from the knowledge document details all in the new interface is something that can't be done today, and then analysts will have to achieve that in the existing interface.
So we have the other question about the cards being personalized with color or customer logos. So right now the cards cannot be personalized, but the customer logos can be used in the overall xFlow interface, but the cards cannot be customized. But yes, what can happen on cards is the information that you see there. Part of that information is configurable, so you can configure what you need to see on the card, but the customer logos was not possible.
Not sure if this was answered earlier. The question is from Pedro. The new interface can be modified as the old one, show new labels, tables, etc. One thing we have considered in the design of new interface is no old way of customizing things, and you might have seen that most things are configurations. So administrators can tweak things. For instance, if you want to introduce a bunch of additional attributes or swap out of the box attributes from the card view or the list view, administrators can do that by simple configurations. But we have made sure that we are not opening up the customization and coding, the custom coding type of activities in the new interface to keep it, simple, easy to maintain, and easy to upgrade in future.
Okay, so there's a question regarding the required fields, the new fields that are required will then also be required on the new interface. Yeah, so if you have attributes which you've marked as mandatory, they would be available on the new UI. Along with that, if you as an administrator want certain attributes which needs to have value, so they would appear as there was an additional information which was appearing while creation of the ticket. You can mark those attributes to be added, which would be available there. But the whole idea with the new interface is to enable the analyst to capture that conversation as quickly as possible, and this is actually an opportunity to optimize your business processes as well, and remove the clutter. All the information which is not really needed to be captured can be removed, and focus only on the elements which are really required for the analyst to quickly work and resolve the ticket.
Yep. The question from Gabor is, can we use the same functions on the ticket that on the old interface? What about classic workflow tasks, seeing all attributes, etc.? You can use a large majority of functions, either from the Cardview, list view as quick actions without diving into the details of a ticket, or you can go to the ticket and use the command bar to perform a number of activities on the ticket, including changing the attribute values and whatnot from the command bar itself. The classic tasks are not yet available directly in the new interface for update, etc. But the large majority of activities that an analyst would perform on the ticket are available through the new UI.
On the priority determination in the new UI, the priority determination still remains the way it is. It's just that now the heat factors in much more than just priority and the other factors which can be configured by the administrator to arrive at the heat value. So, but the priority calculation remains as it was earlier.
The next one is from Mitch. Is Service Catalog getting a similar xFlow interface? The direction we are taking with modernizing the user experience is to deliver a targeted user experience. We are talking about Analyst through this new user experience. So the idea here is to address the various capabilities in Service Desk, going by the persona and looking at the key activities that a persona performs, and then design the user experience to make sure that it fits in the needs of that persona. So I know it's a bit long-winded thing, but yes, we want to address the user experience in service management by targeting the persona and delivering a very targeted, very focused user experience for those personas. So the answer is yes. We haven't planned that yet, but it remains on our future direction.
There's a set of questions here that relate to the implementation. Is Value Pack 1 and 2 needed to be installed to install this Value Pack? There was another one, let's see, in terms of the minimum system requirements and, calling for 16 gigabyte RAM, is this a hard requirement or not? And there was one other question, I'm looking for it. Oh, is this a complete reinstall or just a reconfiguration of the UI? Can we talk a little bit about installation, and then we're going to need to cut the questions, I think, because we're hitting the end here.
Sure. So this value pack is essentially a cumulative patch in terms of update. Download it, apply it to SDM like a cumulative patch. So it's an update. You do not need to upgrade the whole application. That's one. The additional components require a bit of additional hardware resources. Now, depending on whether you are putting it on a demo, development, QA, or production environment, you will need to figure out the deployment architecture. So coming down to the hardware requirements, it's not must-have to run the new interface, but those requirements are essentially recommended to run the UI, to run the new interface that provides an optimal experience. You can run it on a smaller hardware configuration as well, though it may not provide optimal experience in those cases. But if you're doing it for demo, that should be fine.
Great. Okay, we're about to hit the top of the hour. We're going to cut off here. If any of your questions did not get answered or you have additional questions, please post them out to the community. We monitor that very thoroughly, and we'll make sure to provide you with the answers. I know there's going to be a lot around this topic. It's a very impactful release. Hopefully you take advantage of it. I want to thank our speakers, Rajiv and Avnish, and Chris. This, I guess, concludes it. Chris, do you want to wrap up the call?
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Rajiv and Avnish. Thank you, everybody, for participating today. Great topic, and obviously a lot of interest here. So join us next time and stop by the communities for the discussions as well. So thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you next time.